Barak Hawa, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rachakudash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is Watch These Leaders, dealing with, the leaders out there, not the brother you see in here. This brother, beautiful brother, this is the young Elder Amawanga Bar. And his video is what inspired this lesson. So I just want to get that out the way so the brother doesn't get nervous. You got to watch these leaders out here dealing with these different camps. And even, among the GMS camps, those that are flaky. You got to watch, that also. But, he was going into this lesson here. It's about to go down. And there was something he was saying in this that sparked my spirit, to start thinking about these leaders out here from these different camps that are totally going off, and it also extends into the so-called, church, these so-called church leaders out here, that are ministers and pastors and preachers and so on and so forth. Nevertheless, before we get into that, I just ran across this article I just wanted to share real quick. It says Globalist 2030 agenda push by World Economic Forum set for launch as elite make final drive towards total control. And this is what it's all about, total control. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Something along those lines. And pretty much this is what they want. They want total control of everything. This is why everything is going green, is going digital, and this is the main thing that we should be speaking about, even though others get upset, pissed off, whatever the case may be. Who cares? At the end of the day, when it comes out and it smacks you right in the face, you're not going to be able to avoid it, sidestep it, get around it. So, you might as well face it now, because you're not going to be able to put it off. You're going to have to face it in the future, because this is the wave of the future, and this is prophecy in the making. So bottom line, you either address it now or you address it later. And the thing about, my main man, High Horse, the Bishop High Horse, is, he's a very slick individual. He'll say little things here and there and address certain things, little things here and there, so later he can go back and, well, if you notice, moron, I said that, blah, 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 He's a very slick, that's Oil Can Harry, Bishop Oil Can Harry. That dude is slick as a whatever the saying is, But anyways, these leaders are going to have to answer for what's coming, and what's coming is the MOTB. And this is why you have to watch these leaders, because they're making the people believe that it's not the micro C hip, which is the MOTB. They're making it seem like it's everything else, but all of those other things that they're speaking about have nothing to do with buying and selling, which is the main thing on the prophecy roster, And like I said, this video was inspired by, the brother Amawanga Bar. It's about to go down. I see he's on the comment board. And Yahweh Bashem Yahushai brought a thumb to all of you. Sincere, Akim out there, and a strong shalom to you sisters. So we're going to read a little bit of this and then get into the lesson. This is dated April 28, 2023. Here you see the PD. All right, whenever you hear it say PD or Plan D, this is what we're talking about. Represents a rare but narrow window of opportunity. And this is what they're looking for, that narrow window of opportunity, which is never let a good crisis go to waste. I believe that was Rahm Emanuel that said that. To reflect, it says the The Plan D represents a rare but narrow window of opportunity to reflect, reimagine, and reset our world, which is pretty much, notice they say our world, meaning their world, the new world order, Novus Ordo Seclorum. Now, as you see right there, Cotton Schwab. I know you could read. I know you brothers out there could read Cotton Schwab. See, Cotton Schwab. Inside joke. Shalom, Bishop Ibad. So it says, let's be clear about one thing. The push toward all electric transportation has nothing to do with saving the planet from emissions, hell, and everything to do with controlling how we travel. You know, because everything is going to be on the grid. So you could understand. Electric vehicles are not the panacea. Now, the word panacea means all cure, or the cure-all. Pan is all, acea is cure, or herb. You know, it's a herb that's touted as curing everything. Okay, so electric vehicles are not the cure-all for cleaning up the environment. The tyrannical left-wing elite claim they are because they require literally raping the earth to obtain the ingredients lithium, primarily for the batteries. Not to mention the fact that lithium is mined by poor children of color who work like slaves for pennies a day. But you know, these Edomites, you know, they don't have to go into captivity. It says, in fact, the entire green agenda is about control, and that's what it's all about, control. You know, and I'm not talking about Janet Jackson control. I'm talking about, you know, the super elite, the so-called super elite control of what? Of the planet's resources, of the planet's monetary system. This is why Meyer Amschel-Bauer said, give me control of a nation's money, and I care not who makes the laws, because they who make the laws control everything else. Money talks, bullshit walks. Money answereth all things. Money is a defense, you know? And it was John Todd that said that these so-called elite, they want to bankrupt everything, crash everything for this so-called reset. He didn't call it reset back then. And then still, even their own businesses get crumbled and crushed. He said, but still be so financially stable that they'll be able to withstand, because once the reset kicks in, then they're really going to be on top. Just think of it this way, on a small scale. 2020 comes in, everything is shut down. They bring in this new, you know, so-called, you know, plan D, right? They got everybody nervous and scared. You know, they got, you know, the world panicking. People wearing MASKs and all kind of stuff, right? Shields on their face. I mean, all kind of stuff, right? You know, protective gear. You know, can you imagine how much money was made from them rubber gloves and, you know, MASKs and shields and all that stuff? Protective gear. Can you imagine how much money they made? And eventually they shut down all the mom and pop businesses, crumbled them, right? And pretty much came into the point where, you know, some of them doubled and tripled their money within the last 2 to 3 years. So it's all about total control, you know, and on the backs of what? Of the poor. And that's why in the book of Psalms, the 10th chapter, right, it says that, it speaks about that. And these leaders are not speaking about these things. You know, these leaders in Israel, we're not even concerned with the so-called, you know, the so-called church goers and the church pastors and all that. They're down the road. We're talking about the ones that are in these leadership positions, you know, in Israel, the Hebrew Israelites, that are not warning the people of what's coming. Some of them are being slick, you know, like Bishop Oil Can Harry. You know, if you don't know who Oil Can Harry is, look him up. You know, and they're saying little things here and there, But then they're saying, they might throw a micro C-hip in there, but it's not the MOTB. So Psalms 10:1, it says, why standest thou far off, O Lord? Why hidest thou thyself in times of trouble? Because these devils have been doing what? Planning, plotting, turning over every leaf. Scriptures say in the book of Psalm 64 that they accomplish a diligent search. You got to remember that on the left-hand side, Esau is a diligent mother floater. They are very diligent in what they do. They are very diligent to the left-hand side. They are very diligent to Satan, and pretty much they're diligent to the Most High because they are doing this on the left-hand side for the Most High. It says, the wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor, because it's all about the persecution of the poor. Because the way the rich get rich is not off each other's back, not off each other's mishaps or misfortunes. They mostly get rich off of the backs of the poor. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. And the thing is, it's not like they need it. They have more than heart can wish. But the thing is, this is the spirit that the Lord got on them to do this, to be greedy. And what this does, it affects, the poor, and it also affects their allies because they're so greedy, and that spirit of greed is on them so heavy that they even, pretty much steal from their own, from their own allies. And this is why there's an article about democracy, worldwide and how it ranks around the world. And there are a lot of places around the world that it ranks very low, because America has had its influence among all of these different nations, but all of these different nations are starting to back away from that. There's a chart from 0 to 10, and the lowest ranking nation out there that is ranked the poorest on the scale of democracy is Afghanistan, 0.032 or something like that, or 0.32 or something along those lines, meaning they're less than the one on the chart. They're pretty much towards the bottom end, almost in zero. And then when you go to Asia, they give you the ranking system. There's a lot of them that rank low. Taiwan ranks a little higher because they're like around a 6.7. Then you have Russia and all of them, China, they all rank very low, anywhere from 1 to about 3. Then you have Africa, a lot of those African nations, rank low. Then you have one island, a small island, I think it's Mauritania, if I'm not mistaken. They rank a little higher. Then you have in the Middle East, because South America, they rank in, some of their ranks are low. Then in the Middle East, all of those nations out there all rank low, very low in democracy. The only one that ranks a little higher, but they're falling from it, is Israel. And I already knew that they were going to rank, higher than most of those nations out there because they are in bed with America. So as the wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor, let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined. Because what are they imagining? A world where everybody is in subjection under them. They're in a utopia, and the rest of the world is in a dystopia. Utopia means a good place. Dystopia means a bad place. U or EU is good. Topia is place. DYS is bad. Topia is place. Good place, bad place. All right. It says, for the wicked boasteth of his heart's desire. Right. And the thing is that now they're not even hiding it. At one time, it was secret. It was secret counsel. Now they're just coming out blatantly with it. They're not hiding it. Why? Because now secrecy is no longer needed to keep their agenda strong. Because now they have the majority of the infrastructure in place to push this whole system. It says, and blesseth the covetous, which they are the covetous, whom the Lord abhorreth. The Most High avoids the covetous. The Most High avoids, the proud. Oh, and I wanted to say, I had put a comment at the beginning of this before I got started. You know, the sister, let's see, the sister Amelia, tribe of Issachar, she usually comes on here a lot. You know, she said that her mom just died. You know, and I said to her, sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear that, Sister Shalom. And pretty much, her mom, I'm not sure how old she was, but, she is in a better place now. She's not worried anymore. She's not, in pain anymore. She's in a better place. So she'll be taken care of. And the sister, of course, she's going to mourn for a while. But eventually, once you understand death, you're not, as affected, because mostly people cry because they miss, their loved ones, but their loved ones, might have been going through hell. They might have been going through some excruciating pain. And then once they hit the grave, then there's no pain or anything like that, And she's in a better place now. She's up there with the Heavenly Father. She's waiting for this whole system to collapse and fall, and she's waiting for the kingdom. You'll see her again, sister. You'll see her again. And when you see her again, she will be a very young woman. She might be one of your daughters, in the kingdom of heaven. All right. So, she's in a better place. So I wanted to say that, and I kind of forgot. So, Spirit brought it back to me. Okay, so the Lord abhors the covetous and the proud, he avoids them. It says, the wicked through the pride of his countenance will not seek after the Most High. This is why you have that devil, Yuval Harari, whatever his name is, talking about we can piss off the Most High as much as we want. Matter of fact, I believe this is, if I'm not mistaken, this is, usually he uses this page. Excuse me. This is the brother of Mathathia. It says Ecclesiastes 37:18, weep bitterly and make great moan and use lamentation as he is worthy, and that a day or two, lest thou be evil spoken of, and then comfort thyself for thy heaviness. Right? Because if you, stay too far into that, if you stay too far into that sorrow, what it's going to do is going to affect you. It's going to break your body down. And eventually you're going to be the one in the grave, So you have to mourn, but understanding, also gives you the ability to deal with the situation. It says, verse 18, it says, for of heaviness cometh death, right? And the heaviness of the heart breaketh strength, right? Because something I always quote from the movie, if you brothers never seen it, you may want to watch it. I mean, it's not like a super action film, Godfather 3, but there are a lot of good points in there, for those that understand what's going on in the world, and it shows you the scene where Michael went to the church because he met with this archbishop because they were about to make a deal. And in the court, there was another archbishop, and that archbishop, was looking at Michael. They were talking, and all of a sudden, Michael got jacked up, and he had to sit down and ask for some orange juice and some candy. Because obviously he was diabetic, and then the priest could tell that there was a lot of heavy stuff weighing on his mind. He says, the mind worries and the body suffers for it. And that is true. That goes along with the scripture. It says right there, for of heaviness cometh death, and the heaviness of the heart breaketh strength. Right. And it breaks down the body. It breaks down the strength. You got people that get so worried that they don't want to eat. They can't sleep. All they could do is just worry about whatever the situation is. And one thing that Elder Apostle Gabar told me years ago, he used to say this, is what has worrying ever changed? Of course we're still going to worry because we're in the flesh, but worrying never changed anything. If anything, it affects us more. But moving on. So it says, beautiful. Let me get this one. It says, Wisdom of Solomon 9:15, for the corruptible body presseth down the soul, right? And the earthy tabernacle weigheth down the mind that museth museth upon many things, right? And it's the mind. The mind is very powerful. You know, the elder Bishop Sakaron, that's one of his favorite sayings, you know, the mind is very powerful. You know, and there's times where the mind will pretty much make you believe that you're in a certain situation that you're really not in. You know? And then when you come to, you know, realize and you snap out of it, he's like, damn, man, I was bugging. I was tripping. Okay, so, and yeah, you know, going with what we were going, the lesson we're going into, Job 20:15, he hath swallowed down riches and he shall vomit them up again. The Most High shall cast them out of his belly, right? Because that's exactly what he's doing. You know? Exactly what he's doing. And in Salakia, I know some of you brothers put some banging scriptures in there. Salakia didn't grab all of them. Says, so it says, the wicked through the pride of his countenance will not seek after the Most High. The Most High is not in all his thoughts, right? Because their whole thing is the Most High, he's not even in the picture anymore. You know? Wow. Man, you brothers. Ecclesiastes 30:23. Now I believe this is either the brother Yeshaya or the brother Yakal. Love out of Des Moines. Love thine own soul and comfort thy heart. Remove sorrow far from thee, right? For sorrow hath killed many, and there is no profit therein, right? And there's a scripture in the Proverbs, and I forget exactly how it's quoted, but something about the sorrow of the heart, you know. And I can't remember like exactly how it's worded. If you brothers know what I'm talking about, you could post that up. Envy and wrath shorten the life, right? And carefulness bringeth age before the time, right? So pretty much the scriptures say, be careful for nothing. You know, we just got to let, you know, I hate to quote it, but in the church they say, let go and let God. But it's true. Let go and let the Most High do his thing. You know, it also speaks about in Psalms 55, cast thy burdens upon the Lord. You know, there comes a point where, you know, we have to come to the realization that, look, let the Lord do what he got to do. It's out of my hands. There's nothing I could do. You know, I prayed. I did whatever I had to do. Now I'm just waiting for the tender mercies of the Lord to come in and, you know, and to rectify the situation. Oh, man, beautiful, man. Oh, man, you brothers. Proverbs 15, it's an inside joke. Proverbs 15:13, a merry heart maketh a cheerful countenance, but by sorrow of the heart the spirit is broken. Woo! That's the one right there. That's the one right there. And some of these precepts, man, you know, they used to get me through, you know, back in the days when I was going through my thing, you know, and everything, you know, even now. But they used to, you know, get me through, you know, some hard times, you know, because hard times are spreading just like the flu. Watch out, homeboy, don't let them get you. Salaki, that was a Run DMC lyric, you know, for the song Hard Times. That's a bad song. It says, his ways are always grievous, right? Thy judgments are far above out of his sight, right? As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them, right? Because they're not looking, first of all, their ways are always grievous to the Lord, and they're always grievous to everyone, you know? It says, thy judgments are far above out of his sight. In other words, they don't see his judgments. Why? Because the Most High didn't give them the law, statutes, and commandments. Just like the nations. You know? They don't have that. You brothers, like I said, Psalms 119:50. This is my comfort in my affliction, for thy word hath quickened me. Yeah. You know, and this is truly the ointment of life, man. You know, this is truly the comfort of the Lord, because, you know, when you go through things and them scriptures pop up in your mind, you know, they give you that comfort. And then when you reflect on them, you know, I'm going through this, that, and the other, but what about what this man went through? What about what that man went through? You know, and that starts the healing process. Proverbs 17:22, a merry heart doeth good like a medicine, but a broken spirit drieth the bones. That's another one right there. Woo, man, you brothers, man. All right, I got to get back to this. His ways are always grievous. thy judgments are far above out of his sight. Yeah, because they don't see. Yeah, that was an inside joke from back in the days. It says, the brother for you brothers. Okay, so it says, thy judgments are far above out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them. Right, because see, these devils have been given the blessing of the sword, and they think that that blessing is going to always be there for them to use. And they were used as the whipping stick of the Most High. It also says that he beareth not the sword in vain. So they're going to do what they're going to do until they can't do it no more. You know? He hath said in his heart, I shall not be moved. Yeah, because they don't ever think they're going down. This is also Isaiah, the 47th chapter. You know, they never think that they're going to suffer these afflictions. Why? Because when you have the world's riches, wealth, you know, you think that nothing is off limits to you. You think that there's nothing, you know, that you can never achieve. I was just watching a video that the elder Barack Allah sent me from LA, you know, that he has on his TikTok page where it speaks about, where they were speaking about the Rockefellers and their curse. And he even quoted the scripture, the people of my curse, where, you know, he was always worried that he was going to lose his riches. And that's in the book of Ecclesiastes. He was worried that he was going to lose his riches, and he bestowed that upon his children and upon his family, so much so that certain ones of his family, especially on the woman's side, they killed themselves. They suicided themselves out. They killed their kids, and then they committed suicide for fear of being poor. They one of them would save all the scraps, you know, from their plate and their food, because they didn't know if they were going to be able to afford the next meal, so on and so forth, you know. And they became very what's the word I'm looking for? Very frugal, you know, to the point where they this is how these devils stay in the place of there. They don't spend money, they make money. You know, they do spend money, but you know, they're very frugal with the money that they spend. You know, and that's them small hats. For I shall never be in adversity, and they think they'll never be in adversity. His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. He sitteth in the darkened places of the villages. In the secret place does he murder the poor. Does he murder the innocent? His eyes are privily set against the poor. And that's what they do. And how do they do this? They do this by way of their legislation. This is why it says, woe unto them. Matter of fact, let me get that real quick. You know, let me get that real quick, so we can move in to the next precept. Isaiah 10:1. It says, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and their right grievousness which they have prescribed. Right. So their unrighteous decrees are what? These laws, legislations that they're putting in place for the purpose of ensnaring and trapping others. Right. This is it right here. Yep. Ecclesiastes 31:2 and 7. Watching care will not let a man slumber, as a sore disease breaketh sleep. Right. Watching for riches. Another one is watching for riches, something along those lines. Driveth away sleep, or something like that. Let me see. Watching care will not let a man slumber, as a sore disease breaketh sleep. It is a stumbling block unto them that sacrifice unto it, and every fool shall be taken therewith. Right, because ultimately, what is that saying? Ultimately, what it's saying, you know, I just lost my train of thought. Watching for care will not let a man slumber. Ultimately, what that's saying is that God, money is their God. Money is their religion. You see? It says, it is a stumbling block unto them that sacrifice unto it, see? And every fool shall be taken therewith. It says, watching care will not let a man slumber, as a sore disease breaketh sleep. Right, we just read that just now. Let's see. Watching for riches consumeth the flesh. There it goes. And the care thereof driveth away sleep. Yep. And I'm not sure if there's one in Proverbs, but you know, y'all get it. Oh no, it's all right. Don't worry about it, brother. You know, shit. Just roll in the spirit, baby. That's all. That's it. So this is why they're passing all this legislation, because they're pushing their agenda through that, through that legislation is how they're getting the world ensnared. This is how in Psalms 10 it says he sitteth in the lurking places of the villages. He's not really in the lurking places, in an alley somewhere. Here it is, you in Chicago, he's in an alley somewhere watching you. Oh yeah, that one right there, I'm gonna get that one. Yeah, nah. What it is the way they're doing it in the lurking places is through the legislation, because these legislations affect the citizens, and it's getting to the point where they're going to make it nearly impossible. They're going to make it impossible for anyone to maneuver out here in these streets, and they're going to put everything on the grid digitally, so that people that are not on that grid and do not accept, their what's the word I'm looking for? Their way of doing things, for lack of better words, they're gonna, have them cut out of, the whole system. There was another point that came to mind, but it kind of escaped me for now. So pretty much that's what they're doing. So it says that he lieth in wait secretly, as a lion in his den. He lieth in wait to catch the poor. He doth catch the poor when what? When he draweth him into his net. And what is that net? That's that legislation. That's that whole system that they're pushing through. And that's why here, this Globalist 2030 agenda pushed by World Economic Forum set for launch as elite make final drive towards total control. And they're pushing, they're making their final drive. 2020 was a very pivotal year for them, because it helped them to move things at such a, what's the word I'm looking for? Phenomenal rate. There's another word for it, but no big deal. No, it made them push it so fast, exponentially. It moved their plans exponentially. It fast forward them. They're even surprised how well it worked. So now that worked so well, and they got their Agenda 2020 plan in place, now they're pushing hard for the next one, which is 2030, to get everything else in place. So it says, in fact, the entire green agenda is about control, not saving Mother Earth, because it requires us to consume less and rely far more on being grouped into mega cities, which these mega cities are going to be what? These are smart cities, where the power elite can enforce their will on us. Individualism is their enemy. Remember that short, that cartoon, animation, where they showed you, people pretty much being alone, being given rations, and then the rations that they've been given and the living quarters that they've been given and whatever the commodities they use being taken out of their weekly or monthly allowances, to where they're left with barely anything. And that barely anything that they have to use it within a certain amount of time, or else, it gets taken away from them. Yep, expeditiously, that's a good one. Do it expeditiously. You smoke crack, don't you? Jump, I tell you. Inside joke. It says self-reliance is undesirable to them. They don't want anyone self-sustained. They want everybody under their grip, under their control. That's what excites them. It says earlier this week, the corporate-led World Economic Forum announced that world leaders would be convening later this year to accelerate the implementation of Agenda 2030, a plan that lacks accountability, the National Post reported. Both the United Nations and WEF seem to be dismayed by the lack of progress made toward their Great Reset ideology and Agenda 2030 plan, which is a socialist successor to the failed Millennium Development Goals, the outlet reported. The WEF, headed by German engineer Cotton Schwab, that's the young elder Amawang Gabar's name for him, whose father was once involved with the Nazi Party, has acknowledged that previous attempts to implement their plans have been hindered by unforeseen setbacks, such as the C to the 19 Plan D, the adverse effects of climate change and the escalating cost of food and fuel worldwide due to the conflict in Ukraine, which is total bullshit. It ain't nothing to do with the conflict in Ukraine. It has everything to do with them devaluing the dollar. And remember, the devaluing of the dollar affects not only Americans, but it affects the world, because the American dollar is the standard for the world. It's the world reserve currency, you know? Global leaders and their representatives have been summoned to strategize and accelerate. See, they need that accelerant to move this forward. Accelerate the progress of what the West calls arguably the greatest ever human endeavor undertaken to create peaceful, just, equal, and sustainable societies. When they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction falleth upon them. But again, do not let the flowery language fool you. They seek to bring the world under their control, so that we live their visions of a peaceful, just society. Right, peaceful and just for them. It's pretty much going to be drugged up individuals out of their minds. So in a reality, that is not real. This is what that metaverse is all about, and that whole situation. You see these futuristic movies, what's the main thing that they push? Everybody's, subservient, people are on medication, those medications are for the numbing of the mind. They don't want anyone to be able to think, which will mean giving up on our democratic systems and turning over all power to them. The tiny minority of mega wealthy elitists who fancy themselves as God kings, right? And that's why it says here in Micah 2 and 1, woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, meaning they put it into use, because it is in the power or the godlike power of their hand. When you go to this word power, is Allah, which means God. All right? God-like one. And it's in the power of their hand. They have that power. And what do? And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. Right? So that they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. Right? That's why this is how they're able to gain control of the whole world. Here we go. Beautiful. It says Noah Yuval is on record saying they have to keep people dumb with drugs and video games. Yeah, because that opiate keeps them in suspense, or keeps them, in a false reality, so that by the time they even would realize what's going on, it would be too late, because they would be knee deep, in the shit. Inside joke, but true. And that's why these leaders of Israel, Hebrew Israelites, are not telling them and teaching them what's really going on. They're keeping them dumbfounded. And that's why you got to watch them. Let's go to Ezekiel 33 and 1. Again, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, speak to the children of thy people, and say unto them, when I bring the sword upon the land, if the people of the land take a man of their coast and set him for a what? For their watchman. And what is the job of a watchman? The job of a watchman is to watch. The job of a watchman is to look and see what's going on. When he sees what's going on, he reports to the people, to the Israelites, what's going on. He also tells the nations, because we are set up as prophets to the nations. Not just to Israel. We're set up as prophets to the nations. Ezekiel 3:17, Son of man, I have heard I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore hear the word at my mouth. So what are we supposed to do? Hear the words of the Lord's mouth. What are the words of the Lord's mouth? The scriptures, the Bible. It says, and give them warning from me. This is what the Lord said, I will give you passages that will feed you with knowledge and understanding. And he said, according to his heart. So according to what is written. So either you get edified by these words, or you get destroyed by these words. And we're supposed to give warning of it, regardless of whether Jake wants to hear it or not. Isaiah 58:1. So Hosea 6:5 says, Therefore have I healed them by the prophets. How? By the words that are coming out of the prophets' mouths, that are the words of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. I have slain them by the words of my mouth, and thy judgments are as the light that goeth forth. Right? Because eventually the words that are being spoken, which are the words of the Most High, the prophecies of the Most High, eventually, once they start to be executed, those will be the judgments of the Lord going out in the earth. This is why it says that the earth shall be filled with the glory of the Lord. With the knowledge of the Lord. Yahushua said it best. He said, when this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached to the four corners of the earth, then shall the end come. So going back to Ezekiel 33, so when you set him up for a watchman, if, this Ezekiel 33:3, if when he see the sword come upon the land, he blow the trumpet and warn the people, because this is the job of a prophet. This is the job of a watchman. Watch what's coming and let the people know what's coming. Not put them in a state of, because what you're doing when you're telling them that there's not going to be no time of Jacob's trouble, that the micro C hip is not the MOTB, what you're doing is you're putting them in a comfortable spot, in a comfortable position. You're not, showing them the importance of what's coming. You're not letting them know that the importance of this new system that's being put in place. That unless you comply with them, you're not going to be able to move around. But we have a different outlook on it, because we have the Spirit of Yahweh Bashem Shai through the Holy Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, which opened up our minds to let us know, look, if you serve me, we serve Yahweh Bashem Shai, then we're going to be taken care of. And the Lord is not a man that he shall lie. Look at the generations of old. Have any ever trusted in the Lord and have been forsaken? And the answer to that is no. It says, then whosoever heareth the sound of the trumpet, because it's one thing to hear, and taketh not warning, but don't listen and don't do. Because it's not just the hearers of the word that are justified, but the doers. There's a combination. There's a perfect combination there. You hear, you do. Guess what? Now you got a perfect combination. You hear, you do. If you hear and don't do, then that combination is broken. Let me read this real quick. Salaka, brothers. Ezekiel 13:8. Therefore thus saith the Lord power, because you have spoken vanity and seen lies. Therefore, behold, I am against you, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem El Shai. Right. And that goes to these different leaders out here, in Israel. And mine hand shall be upon the prophets that see vanity and that divine lies. They shall not be in the assembly of my people. Yeah, because the Lord is going to destroy them. It tells us in Isaiah the 14th chapter, that those prophets that are promising you these things, those prophets, false prophets that are promising you, that you're not going to see famine, you're not going to see this, you're not going to see that, you're not going to see hard times, so on and so forth. Those are the same things that the Most High is going to use to judge those prophets with, those false prophets. Neither shall they be written in the writing of the house of Israel, neither shall they, because they're not going to be a part of the elect, neither shall they enter into the land of Israel, right, because they will be destroyed on this side. And you shall know that I am the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, your power, because because they have seduced my people, and that's what they're doing, seducing Jake. They're putting them in a sleep. They're putting a spell on them. They got them in a sleep, in a slumber, in these churches, and even among these Israelite groups. They got them in a spell. It says, saying peace, and there was no peace, right? And one built up a wall, and lo, others daubed it with untempered mortar. That represents these different teachings, this other gospel that they're teaching the people with, promising them peace when there ain't going to be no peace. The only peace that's coming is going to be to the ones that are part of the elect. Beautiful. Ezekiel 11:2. Then said he unto me, Son of man, these are the men that devise mischief and give wicked counsel in the city, which say it is not near. Let us build houses. This city is the cauldron, and we shall be the flesh. Right. You're going to be the cauldron, and the people, you're going to have the cauldron, which is going to be what? The time of Jacob's trouble, all of these calamities that are coming. And the people, the Israelites, the ones that are not part of the elect, they're going to be the flesh within that pot. So it goes on, Isaiah 56:10, his watchmen are blind, they are all ignorant, they are all dumb dogs. They cannot bark, sleeping, lying down, loving to slumber. Yeah, and it doesn't matter if you're telling the people that they're Israelites. Beautiful. You know? But if you're taking away certain parts of the instructions, you're going to destroy them. Because when the time comes for them to make a decision of whether they should take the MOTB, which is the micro C-hip, or not, they're not going to know to resist, because you put their mind at ease and said, no, don't worry about it. You could take it because it's not the MOTB. They might throw a micro C-hip in there, but it's not the MOTB. Ezekiel 33:4. Then whosoever heareth the sound of the trumpet and taketh not warning, if the sword come, and in this case the sword is coming, and take him away, his blood shall be upon his own head. Right. Because why won't it fall on the watchman? Because the watchman gave them warning. They didn't take the warning or heed the warning. Therefore, the blood is going to be upon them. He heard the sound of the trumpet and took not warning. So you hear brothers saying it all the time. You know, these are the final warnings that are going out on this MOTB, the micro C-hip. Because once the system is in place and you're not mentally prepared for this spiritual war that's coming, you're going to take it because you listened to your leaders that told you that it was okay to take it and that you can repent from it, you know, and that it's not the MOTB. When it has everything to do with the MOTB, because it is the MOTB. It has all the makings of it, all the prophecies of it, all the evidence of it. It all has to do with what? Buying and selling in this new system that's coming. That's why you had Bishop Oil Can Harry, you know, that quickly did a video on the digital system that's coming so that he can have that for later, you know, because, you know, he thinks he's slicker than the Most High. So he can have that for later. And then all of a sudden, when it comes, I told you, see, didn't I tell you? I told you it was coming. Morons. I never said it wasn't coming. I told you it was coming. Dude, man, that dude is fucking slick, boy. Woo! But you ain't slicker than the Most High, though. He heard the sound of the trumpet and took not warning. His blood shall be upon him. But he that taketh warning shall deliver his soul. Keep this in mind, just like when Yahushua said, when you see Jerusalem compassed with armies, know that the end thereof is nigh, then flee to the mountains. You know, so in other words, get your mind right, get your mind in order. Get the thoughts in your mind that this system is here. It's coming. It'll be here very soon. It's already here. They're going to implement it very soon. And, you know, let knowledge and wisdom be the stability of thy times and strength of salvation. It says, but if the watchman see the sword come, in the case of a lot of these leaders, and blow not the trumpet, that's what they're doing. The time of Jacob's trouble is gay. You know, the MOTB is not the micro C-hip. It's an embargo, it's sin, it's Christianity, you know, it's sleeping with white women. It's everything else but what it is, which is the micro C-hip. And none of those things have anything to do with buying or selling, except for the embargo. But it's not talking about, because an embargo is something imposed on these different nations. The scripture's not talking about just the nations, it's talking about everyone, all men, all women, all children, within the confines of this world, because it's going to be a worldwide thing, you know. But if because the embargo doesn't apply to one individual, an embargo applies to countries, you know, because that's how these governments do trade with these different companies. But now the part where it says no man shall buy or sell is talking about every individual on the planet. But if the watchman see the sword come and blow not the trumpet, as in the case of these false leaders, and the people be not warned, If the sword come, and in this case is coming, and take any person from among them, listen good, he is taken away in his iniquity, but his blood will I require at the watchman's hand. So you guys out there, you're in danger, man, of being destroyed. So watch these leaders, man. Watch these leaders. Watch them. Yeah, this is a good one too. Micah 3:1, and I said, here I pray you, O heads of Jacob, and you princes of the house of Israel, is it not for you to know judgment? And that's what you're supposed to know. You're supposed to know how to discern and give the right sense, how to rightly divide the word of truth, how to let the people know when it's time to party, and how to let the people know when it's time to get serious. You know, you can't be, given an uncertain sound out there and, sending these people on a wild goose chase. 1 Corinthians 14:7, and even things without life-giving sound, whether pipe or harp, except they give a distinction in the sounds, how shall it be known what is piped or harped? Because otherwise it's going to be what? Just noise. And you leaders out there, you're supposed to know better. For if the trumpet but this is what happens when you're stumbling out of cars or trucks or SUVs, drunk half out of your mind, talking about where the hose at. It says, for if the trumpet give an uncertain sound, who shall prepare himself to the battle? Right. Who's going to prepare himself to the battle if it gives an uncertain sound? It says, so likewise you except you utter by the tongue, because this is where it is, the tongue by what? The words that are spoken, which are the words of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, the judgments. Except you utter by the tongue words easy to be understood, how shall it be known what is spoken? For you shall speak into the air. So you have to give the warning, you have to give the sense. And you leaders, you're supposed to know better. Micah 3:1, and I say here, and I said, here I pray you, O heads of Jacob. This is addressed to the heads, because judgment is going to begin with you. It's going to begin from the top on down. And ye princes of the house of Israel, is it not for you to know judgment? Who hate the good and love the evil, who pluck off their skin from off them. Right, some of you pluck off the identity of Jake. Some of you pluck off their defense, which begins with the name of Yahweh, the name of Yahushai, and the true understanding of this gospel. Because you need to know all about this so-called micro-CHIP and the system that's coming to avoid it, because that is the MOTB. It says, and their flesh from off their bones, right? Right, this is beautiful right here. Ezekiel 44:23, and they shall teach my people the difference between the holy and profane, and cause them to discern between the unclean and the clean. Right, because at the end of the day, you're going to know who is teaching the words of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai and who is not, who is serving them and who is not. And as Joshua said, as for me and my house, we shall serve the Lord. So going back to Ezekiel 33:7. So thou, O son of man, I have set thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore thou shalt hear the word at my mouth and warn them from me. And that is our job, to warn them. Our job is not to make them listen. Our job is not to hold them by the hand. Our job is to warn them. And if they take heed, beautiful. If not, they will be destroyed. When I say unto the wicked, O wicked man, thou shalt surely die, if thou dost not speak to warn the wicked from his way, the wicked man shall die in his iniquity, but his blood will I require at thine hand. Nevertheless, if thou warn the wicked of his way to turn from it, if he do not turn from his way, he shall die in his own iniquity, but thou hast delivered thy soul. So you got to understand, when you're a leader, the lives of the people are in your hand. And when the people are so enamored with you that they treat you like a god, they're going to hang on every word you say. That's why it says, cursed be the man that trusteth in man and maketh arm his flesh. You know, you can read the rest of this chapter. This rest of this chapter is good. I was listening to it earlier when I was going for my little walk. You know, I wanted to read more of it, but you know, you get the that's the gist of it. You know, the watchmen are supposed to warn. If the watchman sees danger coming and doesn't warn, guess what? The people will be destroyed, but their blood will be upon your hands. You know? Matter of fact, let me read this last one here. Isaiah 3:12, as for my people, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them. O my people, they which lead thee, cause thee to err, and destroy the way of thy paths. Right. That's right, you know. So with that, you know, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. To the next time I say, Shalom.